When Jaiwan was younger, around 16 years old, a boy from another class confessed to her. He was a boy she didn't know well. She just knew what he looked like. But she liked him. She was very glad that he was honest. And she even got excited because she thought, there's a guy who really likes me. However, she turned him down. After that, too many guys started confessing to her, so she rejected everyone. She rejected them all, but she couldn't help herself because she fell in love with someone else, the class president. His appearance was normal, but since they started going home together and talking, she just started to like him. However, when she confessed to the class president, just like others had done to her, he told her that he heard she had rejected Kyungsil's confession. She wondered why he mentioned that. He had been very kind to her, which surprised her, but the president continued, saying that he understood she didn't like those kinds of guys. Yet he asked why did she reject Kyungsil. She pondered what he was talking about, but he went on, saying that he hated that she played with people's feelings. He walked away, telling her that he didn't know she was that kind of girl. Jaiwan tried to explain that there had been a misunderstanding, that she had a reason, but when he questioned what kind of reason, she confessed that she liked him. That's why she rejected the others. However, he made a disgusted face and asked if she was coming on to him now. He said it gave him chills and mentioned that he had heard rumors about her. They called her the fisherwoman, and that's why she had come to him, or so he believed. He walked away, telling she can't do that to people who have been nice to her. This left Jaiwan stunned and frozen in place for a few moments, until the mocking laughter of some girls caught her attention. They laughed at her because she had been rejected. They commented that she wouldn't have ended up like this if she had just used her looks and acted how she looked. They said that she always made fun of guys and that she had brought this on herself. That's how the bullying began. She wondered if she had done something wrong. They were the ones who misunderstood, and one of them even made her cry. Why was she considered a bad girl? This had a great impact on her. When another boy attempted to confess to her, she immediately questioned who he was and told him to get out. She had had enough. Currently, Jae-kyung is interrogating this creepy person. She questions if he broke Kir-young's nose. He tells her no, and she glares at him with ferocious eyes, showing no empathy. He blames Jaiwan, saying it's all her fault. Just look at him. He would never do something like that. He just wanted to be nice, but instead he was insulted. They treated him like a bad person. This makes Jae-kyung angrier, and she tells him to just answer what she's asking. She's not interested in his life story. This causes him to recoil in shock, as he must have believed he would get pity. Suddenly, he smiles creepily and begins laughing, which doesn't impress anyone. He questions what she means by insulting him. He says he wished he hadn't done it, that he was even regretting it. He confesses that he was the one who broke Kir-young's nose. This angers Jae-kyung, and she clenches her fists. He approaches her with confidence for the first time in his life. He tells her he'll hit her just like he did with Jaiwan if she doesn't move, but before he can move, she kicks him in the stomach and tells him to die. He almost throws up his lunch and clutches his stomach in pain. Jae-kyung smiles, staring daggers at him, and asks if he can't breathe. It's because she punched him in the stomach. She then hits him in the face with her knee and tells him to try having his nose broken. She steps on him, reminding him of her friend. She doesn't care what happened between him and Jaiwan. It's a long story, and the truth is she's not interested. This is because of what he did to Kir-young. He had it coming. She tells him that if he had apologized from the beginning, this wouldn't have happened. She warns him to stay away from Kir-young, or she will end his life, and she's serious, as shown by the rage in her eyes. Later, in the nurse's office, Kir-young asks if Jaiwan is okay and how her face feels after the slap. She tells him to worry about himself and asks how he could let that guy beat him up. He inquires how she could say such hurtful things to someone who saved her. But she asks who told him to save her and why he's even doing this. She tells him not to get involved with her and says she has no clue what his reasons are. She had already told him not to talk to her, so why is he still talking? It's strange, considering she was the one who asked for his number, asked if they could go to the cafeteria, and asked him to get her a drink. But she denies all of this. He questions if she doesn't remember the number of times she approached him and tried to seduce him. She blushes slightly and says it wasn't her. But he reveals that he talked to her because he felt sorry for her. as she's always alone in class. What he means is they should get close to each other. She tries to say something, but he tells her not to worry. If she feels uncomfortable, he won't talk to her again. This seems to hit a nerve, and it almost looks like she wants to cry, but she turns around and walks away. Before she goes, he tells her not to worry about the weird guy. He won't come near her again. She comments that she's used to it now and tells him to take care of his nose. He responds that if it happens again, just scream, and he will be there. Feeling sleepy, he falls asleep and says, "See you later." Jaewon wiped the tears from her eyes but turns her back to him. Suddenly, she stops, turns around, and questions what he meant by, "See you later." Didn't he say they weren't going to talk anymore? She stops and looks down at him, noticing his sweet, vulnerable, sleeping face. She remembers all the things he did for her, how many times he protected her, and how many times he included her. She brushes her hair back and steals his first kiss as a way of thanking him. Later, the weird guy is walking down the corridor, biting his nails. Jae-kyung had kicked him really hard, and he doesn't want to let her off so easily. He'll make sure she pays for what she did. By the time she apologizes, it will be too late. He then noticed Jaewon walking alone, defenseless. He smirks, thinking the only thing she told him was not to touch Kiryung. He's planning to apologize for yesterday, yet he still believes he did nothing wrong. Still, he knows he should apologize anyway. Suddenly, Minsik arrives and asks if he's the one who beats women. The guy is confused, but Minsik explains that Kiryung told him everything. He grabs the guy by the collar and announces it's time for corporal punishment. The creep is scared and questions who Minsik is, claiming he didn't do anything wrong. But Minsik tells him to shut up and asks, "Who said you could talk?" With a menacing look, Minsik says that from now on, this guy is going to dedicate himself to getting a body like his. This will be a summer of hell. Later, the teacher announces that the final exams are coming up, so they must have studied a lot for them. As the teacher explains this, Kiryung glances at Jae-kyung. He wants to study with her. He's read in manga that love grows when a couple studies together for exams. If that's true, then Jae-kyung and he will get closer. But what should he do? Should he ask her right now? Is his house the best place to study? Or is it too sudden? Should they just go to a bookstore like other students? At that moment, Jae-kyung calls for him, and he's startled. She asks if they should go together. He wonders if she's talking about going to his house to study or somewhere else, but she questions what he's talking about. She explains that she meant going to the gym to work out. Today is the day to exercise her lower body. Later, as they're walking together, he wonders if he should work on his upper body. She tells him she will support him. They then bump into Jaewon, who is kneeling down and playing with a dog. Kiryung asks what she's doing there, which startles her. Out of reflex, Jaewon asks who he is. Kiryung questions if she was playing with the dog alone. "Come on," she exclaims. "It's not like that. Who would play with such an ugly dog?" She blushes slightly and calls him an idiot, blaming him for the little dog running away. He asks what's wrong with her, realizing it's true when she admits she likes dogs, or rather animals. He inquires if she's embarrassed, and she tells him she's not, calling him stupid. He doesn't comment, but he notices her face is red. Throughout all of this, Jae-kyung remains silent, which is never a good thing. Jaewon walks away and announces that she's leaving now. However, Jae-kyung tells her to wait and suggests she work out with them. Jaewon feels uneasy but realizes she has no choice but to accept. Moments later, her face is red, and she's sweating profusely. Jae-kyung tells her to run as fast as she can, though her legs are moving slowly. She feels like she's going to faint, but Jae-kyung supports her every step of the way. We then see Jaewon doing some squats. Jae-kyung tells her to do 2 more, but better yet, 3 more. Jaewon, however, begs her to stop. Jae-kyung tells her that she has to go down more, and suddenly, Jaewon's face begins to twist as she starts screaming. Whether in pleasure or agony, it's unclear. This makes Jae-kyung upset, and she tells Jaewon not to moan when she's only done 3 out of 600. Jaewon is shocked. As this unfolds, Kiryung watches them, thinking they are very close. After they finish, Jaekyung praises Jaewon for doing a great job, and Kiriyoung suggests they do it again another day. Jaewon lowers her head and questions why Jaekyung suddenly, but then stops and glances up, seeing them talking happily like a couple. At that moment, she feels a strange sensation on her lips and a tinge of guilt as she remembers how she stole Kiriyoung's first kiss. She feels uneasy about it, but most of all, her legs really hurt. Kiriyoung and Jaekyung arrive at Kiriyoung's house. He asks if they should eat first, and she tells him to buy her something delicious. His sister then intervenes, asking why he's so late and whether he brought her pizza. She immediately stops upon seeing Jaekyung. Jaekyung greets her happily, saying it's been a long time since they've seen each other. Solji freezes in place, begins stuttering, and comments that he brought his girlfriend. However, Kiriyoung tells her that Jaekyung is not his girlfriend, which shocks his sister. He forcibly takes Solji to her room and informs her that he's going to study for exams with Jaekyung, so she should stay quiet. She questions, "What about your pizza?" He says he'll order it immediately. Meanwhile, Jaekyung laughs as she observes their childish talks. Kiriyoung questions if it's okay to have pizza for dinner, but luckily, Jaekyung doesn't mind. In the living room, Kiriyoung is studying to the best of his ability, while Jaekyung is busy with something else. She shows him a picture of Solji, and he realizes she doesn't plan on studying at all. He questions what it is, saying Solji looks like a ghost. Jaekyung tries to make a joke, commenting, "Do you know what the favorite food of Iron is? It's pizza." She laughs, but Kiriyoung is clearly not impressed. He tells her they should get back to studying, but she calls him a dumb idiot, then feigns a pout and declares that she hates him. She starts hitting him with baby punches. Suddenly, they realize the compromising position they are in. As this is happening, Solji makes her way toward them to get something to drink as she's thirsty. To her shock, she catches them in this very compromising position and questions if she's becoming an aunt already. She runs away, announcing that she's going to tell Dad the news. After a while, Jaekyung falls asleep, and Kiriyoung stares at her. He thinks she must be very tired, considering how hard they've worked, but he really wants to pat her head. He hesitates, worried that she might not like it or isn't actually asleep. However, his hand moves on its own, and he gently begins patting her head. Her hair is soft, in good condition, and smells nice. After a moment, he stops, knowing that if she finds out, she'll call him a perv. But then, she raises her head and smiles, leaving him flabbergasted. Jaekyung gets up, walks around the table, and confronts him. He tries to explain that it was a misunderstanding. She bends down, smirking, and says he touched her hair while she was sleeping. She calls him a perv and asks why he did it. He responds that he simply wanted to touch her hair. Suddenly, she starts crawling toward him, and it seems like something is about to happen. She teasingly asks if he only wanted to touch her head, with a mischievous grin on her face. His heart races and he starts breathing heavily. He questions what she means by that as she gets closer. However, she suddenly reverts to her old self, telling him she's just joking and asking why he's so nervous. She tells him it's getting late, so she has to go, reminding her to be careful on her way home and suggesting they study together next time. Outside, Jaekyung reflects on how bold she had been, blushing slightly and wondering if everything will be okay. On the day of the final exam results, Jaewon comes in first in her class. The next day, Kiriyoung can't believe he's texting with Jaekyung in the morning. It's so much fun for him. Suddenly, Solji enters his room, making a peace sign as usual, and tells him to play a song for her like the big brother he is. He questions what she's doing and what she wants. She asks if he knows what day it is. He responds that he doesn't know, as he's busy right now. However, she doesn't believe him and tells him to stop joking around. He then gets a text from Jaekyung asking if he wants to go to school together, but he hasn't responded yet. He walks outside, telling Solji to go away so he can respond quickly. She desperately grabs his hand, asking if they should have a party together, but he gets angry and tells her to leave him alone. She still hasn't put on her uniform, even though she has to go to school. She tries to object, but he points out that she hasn't even taken a bath yet. He tells her she's too lazy and should get ready for school instead of bothering him. Tears well up in her eyes as she tries to retort, but then she blurts out that it's her birthday. He has already left. In class, Solji grits her teeth, fuming at how annoying her brother is. She can't believe he forgot her birthday. She was thinking of eating pizza with him, but now she doesn't care. She doesn't need a brother who's become such an idiot. He used to be kind, but not anymore. Her brother is gone. Someone else will celebrate her birthday with her. She plans to have a party with her friends instead. However, as she looks around the classroom, she realizes she doesn't have any friends there, so her plan will have to wait. She decides to check if her brother is secretly preparing a gift for her. But she becomes livid when she sees him with Jae-kyung. Jae-kyung questions if he wants to go to a cafe with her, assuming he's completely forgotten about her. Angry, she tackles him to the ground, telling him to go to hell. However, she tackled him too hard, causing him to fall face first. He complains that it really hurts, as he hit his nose, and Jae-kyung asks if Solji did it. Kyeryung questions why she would do that, and Solji, realizing her mistake, retreats embarrassed. Later, Kyeryung and Jaewon are walking together as usual. Kyeryung has a smile on his face, while Jaewon seems a bit nervous but still shows a little arrogance. He questions if she still plays with stray dogs, and she asks when she ever did that. He comments that she has a bad memory. Meanwhile, Solji watches them from afar, wondering who that girl is. Then, the idea strikes her that maybe the reason Kyeryung forgot her birthday is because he's become a monster, his brain full of lustful desires. Furious, she delivers a flying kick to his back, causing him a lot of pain. He turns around, asking who did it this time, while Solji smiles victoriously, ready for another retreat. However, her brother glares at her with rage in his eyes and tackles her as she tries to run. It's too late. He lightly taps her on the head, and she whines, questioning why he hit her when it was his fault. He asks what she's talking about, reminding her that she gave him a flying kick for no reason. She yells that he doesn't even know why she did it, but he hits her again, telling her that whatever the reason, he won't forgive her. She runs away crying, and he bids her goodbye. Jaewon questions how Kyeryung can hit his little sister like that and make her cry, but Kyeryung reassures her that it's okay and that Solji will calm down. Jaewon wonders if Solji is acting out because she has something to tell him, but Kyeryung brushes it off, saying she's always like this. Later, Solji sits on the stairs, deep in thought. She reflects on the fact that Kyeryung hit her and decides she's had enough. She's not going to play video games with him anymore. Her party is ruined, and she believes she's going to be alone from now on. The fun times she had with her brother are over. Suddenly, she starts crying, finding it hard to accept. At that moment, Jae-kyung notices her from afar. She calls out to Solji, which surprises her, and Jae-kyung comments that this is the first time they've seen each other at school. Solji lowers her head and greets Jae-kyung. She questions why Solji is crying. Did something happen? With a cracking voice, Solji tells her not to worry as it's nothing. Jae-kyung tells her to sit down for now. She wants to have a conversation with her for a moment. In the past, Solji was bullied because of her eyes, which reminded some boys of a ghost. She cried and told them she wasn't a ghost and begged them to stop bothering her. However, the three boys, who resembled yokai, mocked her by repeating what she had said. Suddenly, the ringleader was hit in the face with a ball. Her brother rushed to her aid, charging at the boys to stop them from bothering his sister. Solji was overjoyed to see her hero coming to her rescue. One of the yokai-looking boys commented that the boy apparently had the lineage of a ghost, but according to his information, he didn't seem that strong. The bully punched him in the face, confirming that he was weak. The boys then said they'd stomp on him together. Solji cried, begging them to let her brother go. The boys called him an idiot and warned him they'd make him pay next time if he tried to interfere again, and then walked away. Kyeryung was in a lot of pain, but his sister rushed to him and asked if he was okay. She cried and couldn't stop, blaming herself for getting him injured, but he told her no, smiled, and reassured her that it was okay as long as she wasn't hurt. He then reached into his pocket, searching for something to give her, Back in the present, Jae-kyung questions if Solji is worried that she's no longer as sweet as before. Solji confirms it and reveals that today is her birthday, which catches Jae-kyung by surprise. However, her brother forgot about it, and she got so mad that she did bad things to him. That's why she hit him. She admits that she let her anger take things out of proportion. Jae-kyung congratulates her with a casual happy birthday. Jae-kyung then asks if she's spoken to Kir-young about her birthday. Solji admits that she hasn't said anything to him yet. Jae-kyung believes that she should definitely talk to Kir-young. After all, it's her birthday, and it's normal to want attention. She notes that while Solji might be disappointed, if she does bad things to him out of the blue, he might get annoyed. Jae-kyung advises Solji to be honest with him and adds that she doesn't think Kir-young actually forgot her birthday. As Jae-kyung prepares to leave, she tells Solji to be careful on her way home and not to cry. But Solji stops her and says, "Come to think of it, didn't she ask her brother if he wanted to go to an internet cafe with her?" Jae-kyung reveals that Kir-young had apologized to her but said he had to go home because he had something important to do. So, they had agreed to go to the internet cafe another day. Jae-kyung then confesses that she was envious of Solji, since Kir-young had left early to spend time with her. Solji then asks if Jae-kyung and her brother are dating. Blushing, Jae-kyung insists it's not like that. But Solji teases, saying she's seen Jae-kyung on top of him and even watching a dirty movie together. Jae-kyung quickly exclaims that they're just friends and are not dating. She pats Solji on the head and reassures her with a smile that they are only friends. For now. Later that day, Solji arrives home, contemplating what Jae-kyung had said. She realizes that she should tell Kir-young the truth. After all, it's her birthday, and it's normal to want some attention. At that moment, Kir-young opens the door and asks what she's doing outside. Isn't she going to come in? She retorts, calling him a freak and asking how he knew she was already there. He reveals that he heard her footsteps. Seizing the opportunity, Solji tells him that today is her birthday, and she thought it would be nice if he congratulated her. She also apologizes for doing bad things to him earlier, admitting she thought he was going to play with Jae-kyung instead of her, which made her angry. Kir-young, a bit nervous but smiling, says he knows it's her birthday and invites her inside, saying he has something prepared. Surprised and confused, Solji enters and sees pizza, Coca-Cola, chicken nuggets, sushi, pancakes, and more. She questions what all this is, and Kir-young proudly asks if it isn't amazing. He even bought the pizza she likes. He admits that he doesn't like ordinary things, so they should put the candles on the pizza. This reminds Solji of when she was younger. On her birthday, Kir-young had given her a choco pie instead of a cake. She was delighted when he placed a candle on the choco pie and apologized for not being able to get something better, promising to buy her something nicer next time. But still, he had said, "Happy birthday to my little sister." This memory made her overjoyed her. She told him her portion was 5 pieces, and he had told her she could have as much as she wanted. The next day at Sian's home, she sat on her couch in pajamas and was greeted by her chauffeur. He asked if something important was going to happen. She told him, of course. Summer holidays were starting soon, and she was very happy, especially excited to go to the beach with her friends. The chauffeur commented that he didn't know she liked playing in the water. Sian replied that she really liked it and was excited to play with her cute friends during the holidays, mainly because she wanted to see them in their swimsuits. In class, Jae-kyung approached Kir-young and told him that summer holidays were approaching, asking if he had any plans. He pondered and replied that since it was almost the holidays, he wasn't sure where to go. Jae-kyung grew curious about his plans, and suddenly, Sian suggested they go to the beach together. She was sure it would be fun, and Kir-young asked if it would just be the 3 of them. She explained that she was going to invite more people. He then asked what Jae-kyung thought of it, and she said she'd think about it. Sian, however, had a strategy in mind. She wanted to see the hottest girls in class in bikinis and had thought of several strategies to make it happen, in case anyone rejected the invitation. She figured that if Kir-young went, there was a big chance Jae-kyung would come along too. Her first plan was to get Kir-young to go by privately asking him if he wanted to see Jae-kyung in a bikini. Caught off guard, Kir-young nervously replied that he didn't think about things like that. But seeing he was going soft, Sian pressured him, saying, Hurry up and say yes. Trembling, he gave in and said, Yes, I want to go. Sian was thrilled and told him to convince Jae-kyung to join them. Terrified but determined, Kir-young approached Jae-kyung and suggested they go to the beach. Jae-kyung asked if he was really going, and he enthusiastically replied, Of course. The beach is a great place. Jae-kyung quickly agreed, making Sian ecstatic. At that moment, Minsik informed Kir-young that he had special training with him during the holidays, meaning he wouldn't be able to go to the beach. This shattered Sian's plans, and she cursed, calling Minsik a disgusting orc for ruining everything. She asked Minsik to tell her the truth. He wants to go with them, right? If he really wanted to go, and after a moment of hesitation, he nodded yes. Sian believed she had succeeded, but the summer holidays were just beginning, and she was determined to make the beach trip happen. Meanwhile, next to the dumpster, Jaewon and her friend discuss the holiday. It feels good not having to come to school in the summer. Jaewon questions what her friend was going to do for her holidays. Her friend informed her that she has a part-time job, so she won't have any free time. Jaewon becomes a bit sad as she lowered her head. At that moment, Sian arrived and questions if she was busy. She introduced herself to Jaewon. The second part of her plan was to recruit Jaewon, which would be difficult, but Sian thought she might agree. Also, her melons were quite large. Sian informed Jaewon that she was planning to go to the beach with her friends during the holidays and asked if she wanted to join. Jaewon looked away, unsure, and said she didn't know. Upon seeing this, Sung encouraged her to go and told Sian she'd be happy to take Jaewon along. Sian then asked her if she would also like to come to the beach, but her friend had to decline. Sian quickly excused herself and went off to handle something else. After she left, Jaewon questioned what Sian had just done, but Sung remarked that it was great, especially since Jaewon had been wanting to go somewhere. Jaewon shyly admitted she did want to go to the beach, but Sungai teased her, suggesting she should go seduce a man. Embarrassed, Jaewon told her to shut up, and Sungai only teased her further, saying she was cute. According to her plan, Sian had managed to recruit a total of 4 people to join her, and so the summer holidays began. Later, she informed her chauffeur that she was ready and was heading to the main entrance. They had finally arrived, and she couldn't wait to see the swimsuits on the cute girls waiting for her. She was ready for a beautiful summer vacation. Unfortunately, it was raining, completely ruining her plan. Frustrated, she questioned why it had to rain today of all days, wondering if it was some sort of cruel joke. The chauffeur asked her what she wanted him to do, but Sian already had a plan B in mind. She quickly took out her phone. Meanwhile, Jaewon was at the bus stop, also wondering why it had to rain today. They wouldn't be able to go to the beach in this weather. Luckily, she bumped into Kir-young, Jae-kyung, and Minsik. Kir-young asked where she was going and, upon noticing her suitcase, questioned if she was heading somewhere. Jaewon informed him that she was going to the beach but told him it was none of his business. He then revealed that they, too, were planning to go to the beach, although he wasn't sure if it was possible due to the weather. Kir-young wondered if he should call Sian. This confused Jaewon, and she questioned who Sian was. Kir-young, now on the phone with Sian, had a very brief conversation with her. Jae-kyung asked what Sian had said, and Kir-young revealed that Sian told them to take a taxi to her house. She was going to pay for it. Upon arriving at Sian's mansion, Jaewon felt a bit nervous, while Minsik remained calm and collected. Sian welcomed them to her house, and Kir-young, still in awe, commented that it was incredible and that Sian's family must be rich. Kir-young then asked about the man standing behind Sian, assuming he was her father. Sian corrected her, explaining that the man was actually her family's servant, and his name was Gentleman Choi. He greeted them politely, but his stern demeanor frightened everyone, especially Jaewon, who was trembling and wanted to be saved from the awkward situation. Sian, ignoring the tension, announced that since it was raining, they had no choice but to have fun at her house instead. She explained that they could still swim, as her house had an indoor pool. She excitedly told the girls that they should change into their swimsuits. She even mentioned to Kir-young that they should show off their bikinis since bikinis are the best, and Kir-young agreed with a nod. Unfortunately, none of the girls had any intention of changing into bikinis. They hadn't brought any and said it felt strange to wear bikinis indoors. But Sian was prepared. She had anticipated this and smugly told them to be quiet and put the bikinis on. She had extras just in case. Holding up the bikinis, she demanded they put them on. However, Jaekyung quickly ran away, saying she couldn't do it. Sian declared that even if Jaekyung tried to escape, she couldn't. After all, they were in her house, so there was no way out. Meanwhile, the Jaewon wondered what the big deal was. After all, they were just high school students and bikinis seemed a bit much. But as Jaekyung stared at the bikini in her hands, she suddenly remembered Kiriyoung saying that bikinis were the best. Blushing, this thought seemed to help her change her mind. Jaekyung then changed into a beautiful white bikini. She felt a bit uncomfortable, as it was a bit hard to walk in, and she wondered if she should take a picture before anyone could see her. But as if it were fate, Kiriyoung saw everything. Jaewon's face turns as red as a tomato, and she quickly runs away in embarrassment, but not before calling him a perv. He exclaims that she was the one who showed it first, so why is she calling him a perv? She tells him to shut up and that he's an idiot. Suddenly, she slips and falls on her back. He rushes to her side, asking if she's okay, but she says she's hurting a bit. He tells her to be more careful and offers her a drink to calm down. She accepts the drink and takes a sip, but she quickly spits it out, realizing it's alcoholic. She questions whether he's been drinking alcohol the entire time. He comments that it tasted sweet, and she questions what kind of sweet taste that is. He then realized that he's a bit dizzy. Earlier that day, Jaewon was in her room, pondering what else she should take. She felt like she was bringing too much. At that moment, her mother barged in and asked what her sweet daughter was doing. She inquired if Jaewon was cleaning her room. However, Jaewon explained that she was going to the beach tomorrow, so she was preparing her suitcase. Her mother was surprised and asked if she was going with friends, but Jaewon replied that they weren't her friends, just people she knew. Her mother was ecstatic and glad to help, advising her to take sunscreen, a swimsuit, and emergency medicine. With that, her suitcase was finished, but Jaewon still felt uneasy. She was only going away for a day, but it seemed like she was taking too much. Her mother, excited at the thought of her daughter going to play with others, quickly ran off to tell Jaewon's father the great news. They laughed and said it was a miracle. They even decided to give her some money for the trip. Jaewon knew why they were acting like this. The reason her parents were so excited was that, after suffering from the accusations in middle school, she had come home unhappy. Things only got worse when her mother asked her why she didn't go out with her friends. Jaewon had screamed that she didn't have friends, and the whole world hated her. Since that day, her mother never asked her about her school life again. In other words, this was her first time going on a trip with people from school, and she wondered if the trip would be fun. Back in the present, Kiriyoung was in the pool enjoying himself. Jaewon commented that he seemed to be having fun, but no one had ever told him not to drink and play in the water. He asked if she wasn't going to get in, and she questioned why she should. He pointed out that if she wasn't going to play in the water, why did she bring a swimsuit? She exclaimed that it was none of his business. However, Jaewon began to feel uncomfortable. She shouldn't have come here with these guys. She didn't feel close to them, and they had never played together before. Especially Jaekyung. It feels like she's hostile towards her. And now Kiriyoung, whenever they saw each other, she would swear and yell at Kiriyoung, telling him not to talk to her. Jaewon thought it was obvious that Kiriyoung didn't like her. She questioned whether she should go home but worried about what her mother would think. Suddenly, Kiriyoung emerged from the water and asked if she could give him a towel. Startled, she asked where he had come from and called him a perv for showing his bare chest. He remarked that there wasn't a man more pure than him and drank more alcohol as he said this. She told him he was a bit stupid and realized that, once again, she was saying hurtful things. She couldn't even remember when it had started. Kiriyoung, a bit sad, wished they could play together now that they were here. She was even wearing a swimsuit. But if she didn't like playing in the water, they could play a tabletop game with everyone later. He had brought one for them to play. Or they could play hide and seek inside Sian's mansion, which was very big. With a curious expression, Jaewon asked if he didn't feel uncomfortable around her, and he inquired why she thought that. She explained that she assumed so because of her personality. Because she insulted him all the time, things might be awkward between them. She lowered her head and commented they weren't that close, and he didn't need to force himself to treat her like a friend. She wondered why she was telling him all this. Maybe it was because she had drunk a little earlier. Kiryung told her she was worrying about things for no reason and suddenly grabbed her hand, dragging her away. He said he thought she was staying away from the pool because she didn't like playing in the water. Then, without warning, he threw her into the water. She shrieked, asking why he had done that. He laughed and asked how the water was. She informed him that she had gotten water in her nose. He smiled and told her he thought they were close. They had been through a lot together after all, so she shouldn't feel uncomfortable around him. His sweet words made her blush. As he dived back into the water, passing her in the process, he remarked that she looked like a chihuahua when she touched the water. Later, Jaiwin began to feel tired and hungry. She wondered when they were going to eat. Playing in the water had been fun, and she suspected that was all thanks to Kiryung. Abruptly, Kiryung got up, and she asked where he was going. He replied that he had something very important to do. He had to go to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Seon was searching for Jaekyung. What was she going to do when she found her? She might try to make her show off her swimsuit. Jaekyung, however, was hiding, thinking she was safe. But as she turned a corner, believing she had escaped, Seon appeared. She tried to drag Jaekyung to put on a swimsuit, but Jaekyung refused. Seon told her to be quiet. Suddenly, Kiryung intervened, telling them both to stop. He struck a dramatic pose and questioned whether they wanted to die. Seon asked who he was, an intruder, a robber, or a violator. Jaekyung tried to inform her who Kiryung was, but he simply said it was disappointing she had forgotten. He declared that he was the super sweet sexy boy and asked if she had forgotten this body. Seon pondered his words for a moment before calmly calling for her bodyguard, Driver Choi. Driver Choi rushed to her and asked what the problem was. She informed him that a sexy guy had broken in and she wanted him taken care of. Driver Choi questioned how he had entered the house, but Kiryung told him to be quiet and get out of the way. He needed to go to the bathroom. However, Driver Choi ripped off his shirt, declaring that it had been too long since he was last provoked. Kiryung commented that it looked like the driver had been exercising, given the form of his muscles. Taking the opportunity, Jaekyung grabbed Kiryung's hand, and they ran. The driver announced that they could run all they wanted, but the only place they would reach was hell. He chased after them, relentless in his pursuit. Through all of this, Kiryung remained calm. He lifted Jaekyung into his arms, carrying her like a princess, and told her not to run. What would she do if she injured herself while running? This action brought back a memory in Jaekyung's mind of a blonde girl and a boy. She blushed and laughed hysterically. Meanwhile, Driver Choi was unyielding in his chase. Kiryung, still calm, commented on how difficult it was to simply use the bathroom in this place. Later, in a room, he asked if they had finally escaped. He told Jaekyung not to worry about him now, but Jaekyung nervously commented that they were in a bedroom. Kiryung assured her that nothing was going to happen. She then remarked that he could be strange sometimes. When he asked how, she said she wasn't sure, but even now, carrying her like a princess and bringing her to a bedroom, it made her unsure of what to think. Kiryung was confused, but Jaekyung wanted to know the reason for his actions. Was it simply because it was her? This hit a soft spot, and she confessed that she had overheard him talking with Seon about the swimsuit. That's why she had believed he came early, to see her in it. But if it were Kiryung, she wouldn't mind showing him. She then showed off a beautiful black bikini, made from high-quality fabric that looked good on her body. Kiryung's eyes widened in surprise, and he blushed slightly. She smirked and asked if there was something wrong. If something impactful happens in your life, you never forget it. That day, she had been standing against the rooftop railing, seriously thinking about ending it all, wondering if things would get better if she fell. She was having stupid thoughts. But then a young boy shouted, "No!" and told her not to think such foolish things. Out of nowhere, this boy appeared, carrying her like a princess and slightly hurting his back in the process, telling her not to die. That's how she first met him, and she would never forget it. the first time she saw him.